Good afternoon, colleagues. So we are here with the hospital folks, not particularly because there's a budget concern necessarily, although whatever questions with this 1 minute of 5 rounds, or 5 minute, 1 round, 5 minutes to ask them questions. But there has also been quite a bit of chatter, particularly maybe one individual putting out all kinds of information that there is emergent situations at the hospital that require attention. And so in order to get that on the record and whether or not their budget has any impact on that, to ensure that the body has the ability while we're in the committee of the whole and we don't have to make an announcement for the meetings and the like, to get the hospital down here to answer any questions you may have with regard to things you may be hearing or seeing in the media, social media, or other posts or comments that may exist within the media. That is the main reason why we've asked the hospital to come down. And if you believe that that may be also in line with budget questions, since we're in the committee of the whole for the budget, feel free, whatever line of questioning you wish to present. Once again, colleagues, I will remind you, we have concluded the second round on the Governor's Bill 110S. And when we concluded that, the amendment portion was closed as per the rules of engagement when we started. If there are any potential amendments within this particular area for the hospital, they will be entertained, but only for the hospital and not for the general budget. So at this time, Senator Sabrina Salas-Montanari, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I do have some questions that pertain to the hospital budget, so it is germane. But first, thank you to the Guam Memorial Hospital, as well as Mr. Benavente from the Guam Power Authority, who is here today. I know that the job that you have is certainly not easy. We're looking at a facility that has experienced years of neglect and even years of misrepresentations and recently allegations and accusations. So I hope that in the next few hours we will be able to get the truth and what is really happening at the hospital. So first, my question relates to the $20 million appropriation that is contained in this budget, as well as in the previous budget. Will you be able to spend that $20 million before the end of this fiscal year?
Okay, Senator, I'm going to put your time back on the clock. I was actually giving the courtesy of an opening statement. Okay. So they will answer that question after we swear them in and we introduce them. I was just giving you an opportunity to open. So please replace her time. And Sergeant at Arms, go ahead and swear in the panel, and then we'll have them introduce themselves. Please rise, folks.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth. Okay, Mr. Chair, on the oath. Proceed.
Thank you, Sarge. I'm going to start at my far left. Please use the microphone and introduce yourself as a member of the panel.
My name is Danielle Mangloni. I'm the Administrator for Quality, Patient Safety, and Regulatory Compliance.
Lizelle Concepcion, Deputy Nursing Services, and also Professional Support.
My name is Christine Takaro. I'm the Assistant Administrator of Nursing Services.
Joseph McDonald, Legal Counsel.
Carlos Pangilinan, Assistant Chief Financial Officer.
Yuka Hichanova, Chief Financial Officer.
Jolene Uggen, Interim CEO.
Jesse Kenga, Acting Associate Hospital Administrator of Operations.
John Benavente, General Manager, Guam Power Authority.
Rodalyn Gerardo, Assistant Administrator of Operations.
Janica Taminglo, Acting Deputy Assistant Administrator of Operations.
Good afternoon. Saudi Tugari, Chief Engineer.
So obviously Mr. Beneventi is not working for the hospital, but he's here because I believe there were representations on the electrical system within the Guam Memorial Hospital and its particular stability. So if you have any questions with regard to that, Mr. John Beneventi from the Guam Power Authority, Executive Director or Manager, is here to also answer questions. Yes, Senator Tadigu.
Mr. Chair, do we also have a representative from the Guam Fire Department as well? Or can the administration speak on their behalf?
I believe they can speak on their behalf, and if for some reason that it becomes compelling, we'll work on that.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Montanani, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question was related to the $20 million appropriation that is in the, well, it's in the current fiscal year budget. Because of language, it was never released. And so we put it into and corrected the language in the budget that is before us. So will GMH be able to expend this $20 million before the end of the fiscal year?
Yes, it is part of the current year's budget, so it is what we have anticipated to receive. So yes, the answer to that is yes, definitely yes.
So if this budget is passed and signed into law, let's say September 29th, and you have 1 day.
Well, our monthly expenses run around 16 to 17 million a month. So technically the money can be used to cover the last month's expenditures for the hospital. So we hope to get it before September 30.
We hope so too. In discussions that we've had, GMH has represented that you needed $21 million in an additional appropriation in next fiscal year budget. But in discussions we've had on the floor with BBMR, DOA, there is basically no excess revenues left to appropriate to the hospital. How will this impact GMH if you do not receive this $21 million for FY27?
We had definitely thought a lot about that. We had anticipated a lot of the cost-cutting measures we discussed in our budget hearing before for various outsourcing projects. We hope that some will materialize in the year, some may not just because of delays with the RFPs and the procurement and all of that. But if we do not get the $20 million we need for next fiscal year, it will definitely impact our operations. We will not be able to pay vendors. We're going to probably be back at the legislature halfway through the year asking for money to help us pay our vendors. That's what's going to happen.
You mentioned RFPs. So let's go through the RFPs that are out there right now that you mentioned could possibly help GMH. I know it's not going to happen, immediately, but what are the RFPs that have been issued? And we're talking about RCM, we're talking about outsourcing of cafeteria, housekeeping, etc.
So we have several RFPs that are currently active. We do have the Revenue Cycle Management RFP that's still ongoing. We have the dietary RFP, as well as the security services RFP.
Can we just go
Yes.
RCM? How much in savings or revenue is that expected to bring GMH once that goes through?
We were expecting about $12 million a year in extra revenue based on the efficiencies and the help that we'll get from the outsourcing of the RCM.
When is that closing? When are the bids due?
For the RCM, Senator, the bids were already received and they were ranked by a committee and paneled by the CEO. We are in active negotiations with the highest ranked offerer right now.
And then moving on, after the RCM, the dietary services RFP has been issued last week Saturday with a due date for the proposals on August 28th. Likewise, for the security services RFP, that went out also on Saturday, and a due date of August 28. And then we also have the environmental services RFP that is ongoing. We already received the proposals. It has gone through the evaluation, and we're going to go into negotiations.
When is that expected to close? Complete? Awarded?
It will go into negotiations, so it just depends at this time.
What about the skilled nursing facility?
My apologies. The skilled nursing facility lease has also been issued out. So it's currently ongoing with a proposal due date, I believe, 2 weeks from now.
Can you give us a little bit more details on the SNF, the scope? Is it just to lease the facility, or?
Yes, so the intent of the SNF lease is to lease the facility, as well as a potential for the winning offerer to take over the operations of the skilled nursing facility.
How much in revenue or in savings really are you anticipated or is anticipated when this is completed?
We hope to save at least $1 million from the skilled nursing facility. That's mainly for the contractual services we have up there, like keeping the elevators running and all of that, because the staff will, of course, be moved back to the main hospital, so there won't be any savings there. And then, of course, any revenue from the lease that we get would be additional revenue. Right now, we just have that roughly pegged at about $2 million, but that's a very early estimate. We're not sure what the numbers would come back. It could be higher, it could be lower.
Can we go through now the capital improvement projects? How many have been completed and how many are still ongoing?
For the CIPs, we have 48 projects completed, 46 ongoing, and 7 on the launching pad.
We can also, Senator, we went ahead and produced copies of our CIP master log. We can share that with the body now so you can review while we go through the numbers.
Can we request maybe a 1-minute recess so that we can get those copies, please?
Sure, 1-minute recess to distribute the CIP log. We're back from recess. Would you like them to make the presentation, Senator?
Okay, so as you can see in the packet that's before you, we do have a dashboard that shows the 48 completed projects, 46 ongoing, and 7 on the launching pad. And for these projects, they span in different categories. With the medical and other equipment, We have 14 ongoing projects, 28 complete. For the HVAC and other utility systems, we have 5 pending, or should I say on the launching pad. We have 14 ongoing and 6 complete. For the structural and architectural projects, we have 2 pending, 6 ongoing, and 7 complete. For the IT network systems, we have 8 ongoing, 7 complete. For the vehicles, we have 3 complete. For the outsourcing projects, these are all ongoing, and there's correction. There's supposed to be 5 on there, and then yep. So that's what we have. Throughout the packet, you'll see all the various projects and what stage they are currently in. Yes.
Senator, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ronaldin. For the 7 on the launching pad, does that include the electrical distribution system?
So the electrical distribution system is actually considered an ongoing because it's in active procurement.
Okay. And can you please explain what is happening with this procurement? Because I think a lot of people have gotten these text messages that have gone, out, and there's even a timeline between discussions or bullet points between GMH and GPA. Can you please explain why some would see this and say GMH is dragging their feet on this, that they've been slow, they're not acting quickly, and GMH is a disaster, and patient safety is at risk?
Thank you, Senator. I'm happy to respond to that question. If I could explain our process by giving a little backstory. Back in November 2025, there was a fire incident that was widely reported, and that moved this body to bring the hospital management into frame and ask questions about what we are doing to keep our patients and our staff safe. To that end, the body did appropriate, and a measure was passed that gave $5 million specifically for the main distribution panel and electrical components. We had worked with GPA, and GPA agreed to partner with us to lead in that invitation for bid. And they had gone through their required processes to get solicitations through and for this bid to be awarded. The total amount that was given by the legislature for these projects was $5 million. What the hospital management has done in addition to the legislature's appropriation is we applied for a hazard mitigation grant program. The HMGP program was an application that was since 2023 and was continuously updated, reapplied. And the latest we got was in early 2026. We had heard for the first time that the hospital had cleared a major hurdle in its review process. The project is aiming to appropriate $17 million for the hospital for its electrical distribution project and generators. The caveat was, if the hospital had already awarded any of these projects we aim to fulfill with this grant, then the grant would be spoiled and we would no longer be eligible for the $17 million. When the project was, when the bids were received, it came with 120 days to which those prices would remain valid. So what the hospital did was it remained prudent and wanted to see a final decision from our hazard mitigation grant partners and FEMA so that we could take the legislature's investment of $5 million and triple it. So we could do more than just component parts like the automatic transfer switch and the motor control centers and the generators. We could go even further and remove and replace and relocate our main distribution panel, which is a concern for the community. So I hope that provides some insight for why you're seeing those timelines.
All right, so just in basic terms, you have $17 million you're waiting to hear final word from FEMA, but you have $5 million that you can go with what we have appropriated. But if you do that, then you risk losing the $17 million.
Correct. We asked for confirmation that if we were to proceed and give concurrence to GPA to go ahead and award, would our grant application become spoiled? And the answer came back as yes.
And the 17 million would fix the entire electrical distribution system as opposed to the 5 million would just fix the electrical
Component
panels?
parts, correct. The 5 million really would only deliver component parts. And when the bids concluded, it showed that it could probably cover our automatic transfer switches and our motor control centers. But there was still an amount above the $5 million appropriation that GMH would need to find within its operation fund. The total that we're expecting to expend is about $7 million. If we're able to get the grant, we can definitely fulfill those projects and more.
And when are you anticipating to hear back from FEMA then on the grant?
It was very timely when we started asking questions. We check on them regularly. And the last update that we received was as of Monday this week, before word started going around. And we had asked if they could inquire with the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Project Director. And the response was, it is in queue, it cleared a major hurdle, and is due for award very soon. We pushed further to ask if we could get a more concrete date, and we understand that the Guam Recovery Office will be sending a delegation sometime next week to Hawaii to meet with those FEMA officials and hopefully get a firm award date.
And so, Mr. Benavente, because I've seen these email threads that have gone back and forth between GMH and GPA, it is kind of concerning that these emails between the two agencies are out in the public. I would think that it's like an internal kind of communication. But even though I said that, has GMH, I mean, what do you have to say about GMH in terms of are they dragging their feet on this, or are they not working quick enough?
Well, first of all, the GMH and we ourselves worked out an estimate of about $5 million to do the 3 significant components of the hospital that we believe are the most critical to ensure safety. No? And these 3 components are the moving parts component. The electrical panel is static, no? But generators, moving parts, automatic transfer switch, moving parts, and motor control centers, the control that if a motor is grounded, it will stop the power flowing to it. And instead, because if it doesn't work, then what you're going to have is the motor keep on burning, like what has happened in the past. So this is what we determined was really the 3 most critical things that we need to address right away, and that's what we planned the $5 million for. We went out over the process to get the bid. We did receive bid, and again, very limited bid. For the generator, we had 2 bidders. For the automatic transfer switch and for the motor control center, we only had 1 bid each. The total was about 2.3 million more than the estimate. Again, and then furthermore, the time frame we're looking at is about 14 to 15 months. But despite all of that, we recommended to GMH that they approve the project so that we can get this thing done once and for all. Waiting is not going to improve the price. Delivery is not going to improve because of, again, these are supply chain issues, all things that are beyond our control or the control of the vendors. The vendors that we came in, or we saw as credible to do the job. So again, the purchase order is going to be issued by GMH, and therefore they need to make sure that they have the money to issue that purchase order. So understanding that they have trying to get that through the grant, then we're working with them to make that, again, to award that project as soon as they can get the funding to go with the project cost. No? But again, those are the critical components of the hospital that we need to address more immediate than the panel, than the lines and everything, although they have put in for a grant to replace the panel and stuff. And I said to them, we can discuss that further because the important things that we do today, as we wait to get all of these things done, is every quarter, their team and our team go through and inspect the panels and distribution breakers and do thermal visions to see if there's anything unusual about that, no? And the last inspection was just done June 30. So every quarter they do that as an interim process to ensure that at least we're doing preventive maintenance on those stuff to ensure that we try and catch any problem as early as possible. But again, we do believe that, again, that those three major components need to be replaced. And that's both GMH and our technical team have gone through that whole process. We're also looking at some temporary solutions for the panel and how to make sure the water doesn't get in there. And I think that, that could be solved shortly. We'll have more discussions on that. But again, the best thing is if they get the money or they have the money tomorrow, then we can begin the process to award this. But in the meantime, we've looked for the request for an extension, and I believe we have that extension for another 30 days.
So you understand the risk, and you're okay with it because GPA has been at GMH doing these inspections to ensure that patients are safe?
Yeah. We work together. We have detail, our supervisor and their supervisor to go through and sign off on this stuff together so that we can ensure that at least we're doing preventive maintenance. If a motor control center or transfer switch typically will have a problem, it's going to give out heat as it starts to wear down. By thermal vision, doing all of this, you can tell whether it's hotter than the last time, therefore something is happening here. So things like that, the technical team can address. And if those are okay, let's talk about the panel. We've been talking about this panel for at least a decade, right? And has anything happened to this panel in the last decade? The answer is no. Not the panel itself, the motor control center, blah, blah, blah. The generators sometimes do not work, or they have to get spare parts and repair, which they have done. I have to, give my hands out. They've been doing a lot of CIP projects which are really relevant. Again, they've been fixing the generator because as we get the new generators, those have to work. So they've done that. The air conditioning that they've been working on, the air handlers that have been causing a fire because of motors. Motors have a life, for example. Some may be 7 years, and sometimes they last 10 or 15 years, but they do have a life. And my understanding is the hospital is about 50 years old, close to 50 years old. It's like our Kairos power plant, no? It's close to 50. We kept it running, but a lot of maintenance, and you always have to stay on top of it. But so I think we're addressing, at least from what we're working on, the key components of the electrical system and all of that. Because, I mean, we can go further. What about the wiring? How is it? Wiring usually are okay unless, again, you start seeing they become brittle because of overloading or things like that. But most of those are handled by circuit breakers. If it trips, the circuit breaker, as long as that control works, you trip it off before anything serious happens. So I can understand where they're coming, waiting, and we'd like, of course, to award it as soon as possible. But again, even the process will take about 12 to 15 months for everything to be completed. But in the meantime, we're not leaving it alone. We're doing regular inspections.
Okay. And I can appreciate that GPA is doing these inspections to ensure that patients and visitors are safe. But I see this all the time. Would it pass an OSHA inspection? Would it pass a fire inspection? Would it pass a DBW inspection?
So I just want to clarify, because this text message came last year too, and it was brought up in the hearing, and I did address it at that time. The life safety systems of a hospital, that is governed by Guam Fire, local, and the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid. We regularly get visited by CMS, and we just went through a mock survey with the accrediting body that we're trying to apply for, CIHQ, in March. So we have not been told that GMH is unsafe for us to take care of patients. And I do have my compliance officer on the table who can make any further comment if you'd like. Danielle.
Yes, that is correct. We have not been told by the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid that the hospital is unsafe to provide care. And for the record, I also want to say that it also extends to the skilled nursing facility unit in Barragata.
Is there anything else that you guys would like to say about the electrical panels, about the electrical distribution system that you'd like to respond to, or anything before I move on?
Like anything in general or specific to the question?
Anything in general, because this is your opportunity to clear up any confusion, misrepresentation, or...
I'll speak on behalf of my leadership, because I find it a little disheartening to be brought down to the legislature based on comments of one person. Despite all of the hard work that we have been putting into the hospital and trying to be incredibly transparent about, building our teams to improve our comms to our community because it's our hospital. We have a huge volunteer and, the active guard, the state of active duty inside the hospital, trying to get us to a place where we can actually apply for accreditation and have that second stamp of approval that the Guam Memorial Hospital is safe. It's honestly, and I think I can speak for all of us, it's disheartening. It's terrible that we're coming down to answer to one person's comments that's going viral on everybody's text messages. And at this point, and being close to a year in this leadership and trying to be as transparent as possible, and I'll tell you, my phone is on. I'm happy to answer anybody's questions. We just had a brief for you. But you were in special session, and we understood that. That was for you, to thank all of you for all of the support you've given to us and how far we've come. And we wanted to share that success with you and allow you to ask us questions at that time. And we understand that everybody was busy in the budget hearing and not able to attend. And so I'm just, I want to say that on behalf of our team. We're happy to come down here to have this conversation, but I don't understand why, it's taking us many months to try and regain the trust of this body, because we are successful because of you. We know that. And we want to extend our appreciation for the efforts that you have made to make us successful. But I just don't understand how one person can change that for us in 72 hours. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Doc. And I apologize I wasn't able to make that presentation. But since you are here, I would like to ask about, I believe it's the contracts with IS Squared, as well as the contract for lien management, value capture. If you could tell us the scope of services for those and the amount we are paying.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to go ahead and yield my time to Senator Salas Mazzoni.
Thank you. Senator, you have an additional 5 minutes from Senator Borah.
Thank you.
Dispensa, Mr. Chair, could I just make a point of inquiry? Because people are talking about these text messages, but are we able to furnish the body with a copy of these messages that are being referenced?
I can ask them to furnish it to you. I don't have any.
So just want to see, Mr. Chair, only because as the interim CEO has said, that's the reason why they're here. So I would just like, if we could, provide the members of the body copies of the messages.
Actually, the reason why they are here, because I wanted to discuss with them the $20 million and whether they were going to be able to expend it before the end of the fiscal year, because we have been in these budget discussions and sessions for the last couple of months. And so the deadline and the timeline is getting closer and closer to the end of the fiscal year. And so I was wanting to know whether or not they were going to be able to spend it, because it would help me determine whether or not I needed to proffer an amendment. And I also wanted to get clarity on the $21 million that they are hoping to receive in the fiscal year 27 budget. But as all of us have heard in the past couple of days from BBMR and DOA, that there is no $21 million to appropriate to the hospital. And so in the process of discussing all of this with GMH, I received, and I've seen it in different group chats, some of you probably are in the same group chat, about questions about the safety of GMH, questions about the procurement for the electrical panel, and why it's taking so long. So that's just the gist of it. If you'd like copies of an email thread between GMH and GPA, I can forward it to you. But what I've just said is basically the content of that exchange in the email thread or text message.
Yes, and also just once again, on the budgetary matter, every time there's been a presentation by OFB or BBMR, it's always been net the revenue for the hospital. So the hospital has always had that revenue subject to the passage of the budget, which is a language correction. Senator Montanani, you still have the floor, and I don't know where, Senator, you'll get the messages from, but at some point, maybe you will. Senator Montanani.
I just want to see, Mr. Chair, I mean, the CEO herself said that they're here because of these text messages, and I would just like us to have that provided to the body, so if there are questions about the safety of GMH, what are those questions? We're only getting half of the picture in here. So yeah, that was all I'm asking for, Mr. Chair. I don't think it's that much of an ask to be provided with information that apparently GMH thinks they're here for.
Senator, I'm just saying you have to get it from somebody who has it. I can't give it to you because I don't have them. So I'll defer to whoever can deliver it. Senator Montanani, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can forward it to you, Senator Barnett, after I'm done with my time with GMH. Yes, if I could get a response to my questions
Yes,
related
Senator.
to IS squared and lean management. Thank you.
If I recall your question, and I think we do, the IS squared partnership with Guam Memorial Hospital is a public-private partnership focused
Sorry, I can't hear. Can we just, either make it louder or, thank you.
Okay. Hopefully this is better. The IS squared partnership with Guam Memorial Hospital Authority is a public-private partnership with a focus on IT and cybersecurity modernization, which was just announced April of this year. They're overseeing a 5-year digital transformation, and that's going to modernize the hospital's information technology systems, cybersecurity, and our data infrastructure. The second partnership that was asked about, again, is a public-private partnership with a group called Value Capture, otherwise known as our lean management tool. They're not focused on IT. Instead, they're going to focus on the operations and the fiscal side of the hospital, understanding how the teams operate and how we improve our overall systems. So those are the two known and published partnerships that GMH recently entered with.
And what is the cost for these contracts?
The IS squared agreement was a $4.8 million agreement, and the value capture was 1.2. Or 1.5, correction, Senator.
And the funding source?
GMHA Operations Fund.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch when the terms, how long these contracts are for?
So for IA Squared, and we'll take them apart, IA Squared is a multi-year contract. It is intended to be a overhaul of our IT infrastructure over a 5-year period, while Value Capture is a single-year agreement.
Okay. In terms of the lean management, and this is something that's been brought up in the past regarding an independent kind of evaluation that was done, and it was through a consultant that was hired through GITA. Have you used any of those recommendations, and is it duplicitous by hiring this value capture consultant, contractor?
If I could answer that, Senator, the question you asked is if we're using the recommendations by the earlier consultant produced by GITA. The answer is yes, because the hospital furnished those recommendations to that consultant. The exact reports and graphs that were eventually in the final report are the same material that the hospital management provided this consultant. So yes, it was really driven by the hospital management at the time.
And there's something else I wanted to ask, because there's been so much activity at GMH. I get pictures of the National Guard. They've been there. And I even saw a picture of, I think it was a leak or water intrusion. I don't know if it was from the walls or a window or whatever. And it was just another example of people saying GMH is not safe. So can you first just tell me what is up with this picture that's been circulating that I've seen in different group chats? I can send it to you, Barnett, if you need it. But I've seen these pictures. So if you could tell me what exactly is that?
Sure, and I'll also defer to our chief engineer after I just introduce the assessment. That particular wall is captured on the second floor across our laboratory space. And that was a particular area of concern during Typhoon Bavi. We have a vortex created through the typhoon because it used to be an open air courtyard. And the area that you're seeing the photos in, it is a concrete slab wall and then a gypsum wall that produces sort of a space in between the two. At the cornermost point of that particular wall, there is a ballast, a joint that there's a space and I think hardening that needs to occur within the interior and the outside. You're finding a lot of wind and a lot of rain was going into that particular wall and creating a breathing effect of wood. I don't know if you've ever seen wood breathe, but it was interesting during the typhoon. When we identified where the, I would say, failure point, we secured it at the top, but throughout the typhoon, winds only progressively got worse, and so did the rain. And so it found other areas of that particular wall for it to fail. And so the water was coming in at the midsection of that particular area. And so our team did as best they could to shore up that wall. So you'll see brackets located at the top portion and the middle portion of that interior wall. And that is part of the project that we've worked with our surface solution contractor to go ahead and produce plans for hardening and replacement of that particular joint so that we don't have quite as much water intrusion in the future. And then I'll just ask if our chief engineer had more to comment on that.
Good afternoon. Hello. So right now we have this particular area on the second floor that is part and parcel to the big project, which is roof and envelope upgrade project. So this portion is a weak link between two hard space. So from time to time it gets wet and things like that and it becomes weak. So fatigue is part of it. It is flexible wall that is butting a concrete rigid wall. So it will give away its strength during typhoon as well as during seismic activity. The portion of that area is one wall, is part of another structure, which is A wing. The next one is part and parcel of the another structure, which is one structure, that is the staircase. So the staircase wall, of course, it's rigid, it's not gonna move, it's stronger, that is butting into that flexible wall, which is weaker than the rigid portion of that wall.
And again, this is a, what would we say, 50-year-old facility. I know that, well, there's been talks for years about a new hospital facility, but right now this is what we have, and I commend you for all dealing and doing what you can with the hospital. But I wanted to ask about a completely different issue, because it's also been in the media a lot, and I don't know if it's related to the budget or what specifically it's related to. Behind this executive session, this meeting that was held at the hospital with the board, and why it had to be behind closed doors.
Thank you. I'll answer to the extent that I can, because of course those discussions with the board are privileged. It was necessary that in a very short time, after receiving some information, that the board discuss with legal counsel some risks that had litigation potential. And so because of the short time to respond to these risks, it was necessary that the board convene, because the board was directly implicated in the decisions on how to deal with these issues. And because it could not be held at the regularly scheduled board meeting, and because of the litigation component and the need to have an immediate response to this, my recommendation was that a special session be called, and that the notice requirement be dispensed with, or the 5-day and 2-day notice requirement be made an exception. And so we did have that discussion, and although there was no action to be taken outside of that, we anticipate that in the transparency that's necessary for this, that at the next special meeting, we would come out of that meeting and have some actions that the board might take because of this executive session. And so that's really what went on. And everybody here probably has some discussions with their own attorneys that they don't really want to have out there in public because of the risk to their own, whatever risks might be there on the litigation side. That's the type of discussions that was necessary to be had with legal counsel at that time. But rest assured that at the special meeting that's going to occur on August 18th, should any action be necessary, the board will then take that up as a measure to be decided and voted on at that time.
So has a lawsuit been filed against the Guam Memorial Hospital?
As a result of, prompting that meeting? Because there's many lawsuits against the hospital right now, at least a few. You've seen them in the papers. But there was a reasonable risk, anticipated risk that could come out of what was discussed in that meeting. And so that's why it was necessary to have a discussion with counsel. But the answer is no. Not directly from the information, but there was a reasonable risk that it could lead to some litigation, which is why it was necessary to be discussed in privileged conversations.
Thank you, Attorney McDonald. And this is, I'm just going to wrap up. Doctor, again, how long have you been the interim hospital administrator?
I think I'm closing in on 10 months. October 1st, I believe, 2025 was my first day.
I'd like to give you the floor. What vast improvements have been made at the hospital since you've been there?
Wow, there's been a lot of improvement. One of the biggest, so there's 5 different areas that I've really focused on. One being fiscal stabilization. And so trying to figure out ways that we could actually collect on the services that we provide. And this is why we had bridged microhealth and have this ongoing RFP for the RCM. But also looking into our processes, bringing in support to help us evaluate processes that are broken or don't exist, that take a lot of manual power or manpower, and try to improve that efficiency, provide safe care at a lower cost. I've worked with my executive leadership very closely. We look through different lenses now, looking at our overtime. Can tell you that we've made significant strides in saving on just overtime without compromising safety, and I know that was something that was brought up in the past. And it's still something that we continue today. When we put out our fiscal statements for the Board of Trustees, you can see that the hospital is doing better in its fiscal health. We have a lot of problems, but we have solutions that may not fix everything tomorrow, but we are in that process. We're trying to bring in new technology to move the hospital into the 21st century. A lot of our processes are manual. We're either on Excel spreadsheets, on smart sheets, on napkins, on paper, basically, right? So IA Squared is helping us with data mapping, trying to make this data look identical so that when the software for the ERP, and the ERP is our supply chain that's connected to our accounting system, and our HCM, which is the employment side of the house, when that data is ready for migration, that it's apples to apples. But in the process of that, we have value capture working with our leadership and our staff to fix what manual processes we currently have so that we're not bringing in bad processes into a software program. We know what we want when this software actually comes in. The hospital itself, one of the biggest goals for us is accreditation. We lost accreditation in 2018. We've had an industrial hygienist, after Typhoon Marwar basically say, you guys have a lot of mold in the hospital. We know the hospital needs to be cleaned. We don't have enough staff to get us where we need to get using the United States Army Corps of Engineers recommendation, the CIHQ's mock survey, and the 790 work orders that the hospital currently has. And so this is why I requested for the state of active duty to get more help and to get it quickly. So we are closing in on our 4th week, going into the next 4. The Guard is scheduled to complete the operational side, working very closely with our facilities and maintenance to get the operational side, the environment of care side of the hospital ready for us to reevaluate towards the end of September to submit a full application for accreditation. That is the goal. The goal is to rebuild the trust with our community, to clean up the hospital because, cleanliness is it's just not an option. It's an infection control issue. We want to provide a safe environment for our staff to work in as they take care of our people. And that is our goal. And that's what we're doing. That is everything in a nutshell. Now, I can write everything down. These guys can't even keep up. I have a CEO tracker that's probably at 100 pages now. Everybody is working at both ends. We're burning at both ends. Monday, Sunday, it doesn't matter, vacation. We're just trying to get the job done. The money that you're giving us, we're putting into good use, and we absolutely appreciate it. And that's why we invited you to that debrief. We have a lot of other good things that are coming. We want to wait for the money to land in the bank. Senator Ada, you had asked us at the oversight about the CDBG. We have an application for 4 grants totaling in about $40 million. We put in over 30 TAP and MAP grants. We have the hazard mitigation grant at $17 million. We received a pre-approval of $1.4 million for disaster recovery. We applied for a telemedicine grant. We are trying to leverage as much federal funding so that you don't have to give us all this money. We are trying to make good on what we said we would do, both in the oversight and in the budget hearing. We are trying to be fiscally responsible. And this team is working very hard to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Uggan, and we certainly are trying to give you the tools that you need to be successful and for the hospital, to survive and succeed. But I did want to ask Dr. Eusebio, because you actually were there when the previous administrator was there. And I have to say, when I first started my term, I was so concerned, and I was kind of very aggressive with GMH on what are you guys doing, that y'all got to get it together, all of that. So fast forward to today, how is GMH doing? And what more needs to be done? And what can we do to help GMH? Because we can point fingers and we can criticize all day, every day.
I think that the status of GMH today is significantly much better than the way it used to be. I can tell you that. I've said that I've been in practice for over 30 years here in Guam. This is my second stint as the medical director. And comparatively speaking, from my experience in the past compared to now, we have made significant improvements. We are trying to modernize GMH so that we can be more efficient. It's always been frustrating for me that we have to come here and ask for money. And one of the goals that we have had is to try and make as much money as we can, whether it's through collections, through effective coding and billing, and also looking at the spaces we have and seeing where we can perhaps lease some spaces. And basically the bottom line is we want to be able to make money ourselves. And that's our goal. That's one of our goals, financial goals. We want to make GMH, I've always said that the best part of having GRMC here present is that for the first time, GMH has a way in which we can compete and know what the level of competition should be. without GRMC, we wouldn't know. So we know that GRMC, being a private hospital, having not having as many limitations as what we have, can deliver a more efficient care than what we can, but we want to get there as well. And quite honestly, you've helped us achieve those goals at this point by allowing us to be able to purchase things, to open things for us so that we can deliver better patient care. There are a lot of things that we're doing which we're sort of halfway there or just beginning. And I'm looking forward to completion of these things because my feeling is, based on the trajectory that we're at this point, we're not only going to be able to compete with GRMC, but there are a lot of things that we'll have that will be better. I always tell my patients, my surgical patients, that personally, I do almost all my operations at GMH. And why is that? It's because the people that are experienced, that have been around a lot longer, are there. And for me personally, and I'm biased in the sense that the equipment that I use is almost always at GMH, and that for me, surgically, for the operations that I do, quite honestly, it's safer for a patient, for my patient to go to GMH and have their operation there. Simply because of my preferences and the people that I work with. And so there are certain things that GMH can provide, which my feeling, using this trajectory that we have, that will provide better care, competitive care. And that's something that the people of Guam need to be proud of, because yes, GRMC is in Guam, but GMH belongs to the people. GMH belongs to you and me. And that is very, very important. And that's the reason why the fact that National Guard is there helping us prepare for accreditation is a big deal. And the fact that other departments of other government Guam departments have helped the hospital paint, clean, those things, those are all big deal. Those are big issues that allow people to feel that they're making a difference in terms of helping GMH get better. They're part of it. They're part of the team. And so they feel good about it. And that's something that we should all be proud of. And all of us certainly appreciate the fact that everybody wants to put in what they want to put in, and we welcome them. Because ultimately, our goal is this. Our goal is accreditation, be independent financially, deliver efficient care, best efficient care, and to have enough physicians that we can deliver those things for the people of Guam. For the people of Guam. Not for the creditors of a private entity, but for the people of Guam.
Thank you, Dr. Eusebio. I'm just about out of time, so I'll leave it with Mr. Kanga, because you also were there with the previous administrator, and you're here now. What can you say about the changes at the Guam Memorial Hospital, and what can we do as a legislative body to continue to provide any sort of tools that you need, the hospital needs, to move forward and continue the progress that we're seeing?
Thank you, Senator. I think I probably had just 6 months with the former administrator and with this leadership team. I have come from a different background, and even some in this body have asked about my certain qualifications to sit where I'm sitting. And I appreciated that they afforded me that opportunity to express my expertise and how among this leadership team we can help deliver for the people of Guam. Dr. Uggan is a moving force. And oftentimes I sit back and I say, for all of us at this table, we got to keep up. She has a mission, like most of us, that the hospital has to succeed. We're all home because, as Dr. Eusebio eloquently put it, GMH is our hospital, and we each can make a difference in delivering that. This legislative body, I have to commend the 38th Guam Legislature, has done quite a bit for the hospital, a lot, for Guam Memorial Hospital. And one such important aspect is holding the hospital and its management team accountable for the resources that you give us, for delivering on the promises that we're making, and we hope that we're doing good in that respect. We ask, though, that you lean with an attempt to understand, to obtain clarification. If there is something that you'd like us to expound on or to be transparent about, know that we are 100% committed to that, because that is our oath to the people of Guam. And in the future, we know that your doors are always open. You're always willing to find out ways to help the hospital. Each of you have stepped up in one way or another to express just how much you support this hospital. So on behalf of everyone here in the panel and for the hundreds that work at Guam Memorial Hospital Authority, Sujus Masi. Para todo bidamizu, Sujus Masi.
Thank you, Mr. King, and thank you to all of you from GMH, as well as you, Mr. Beneventi, for being here. That's all that I have. I know that I've asked a lot of questions and kind of went all over the place, but I can't say it enough. Thank you so much for everything that you do. I know you guys take a lot of hits from outside, but when anybody goes by GMH or takes a walk or tours, you can see the changes. You can see the transformation. Maybe it's not as quick as everybody would want it to be, but again, we're talking about a 50-year-old facility, and in the past 10 months that you've been at the helm, Jolene, we are seeing change. So thank you. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator Gumatauta, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, GMH, for being with us this afternoon. You know, I just want to start with kind of a project that you just mentioned just a few minutes ago, and it hits the heart and soul of the idea of defense support for civilian authorities. You credit this Guam legislature for the contribution of our support here, but you need to get credit for the engagement of the Guam National Guard. This disc of support has been, or has it been, complementary to the efforts on these pages here? Can anyone answer? Has the National Guard been absolutely helpful at all? And by the way, it is your National Guard, by the way.
Yes. Janica, if you could express.
I want to say that, yes, Senator, thank you. Both the Guam Air National Guard and the Guam Army National Guard have been a great asset to where we need to be and where we're getting to be.
So they're helping knock down that list, I guess is probably a safe assumption this afternoon?
Including the 790 work orders, sir.
Thank you for that. I'm going to kind of stay in the same realm, but has GMHA been able to estimate the storm-related damage or recovery costs from Senlaku and Bavi at this point? And if so, is any of the costs reflected in the numbers that's in front of this legislature for this budget, or do you think it's a pressure that may come at another time beyond the passage of this bill?
I guess I'll take that question.
Please.
We had submitted the biggest part of the cost with Typhoon Senlaku was actually the typhoon pay. We were in the hospital for 3-4 days, and we did get reimbursed a little over $800,000 from DOA just a couple weeks ago for those costs. We're still assessing the Typhoon Bavi costs right now, but we do intend to seek reimbursement for those costs as well.
All right, thank you for that. Let me just stick with something even more close to the committee side for public safety. We had the Department of Corrections in here today, or we're talking about them today relative to the clinic, and they had past due obligations. I think it owed you something like on the order of probably $7 million. Has this, in the last year, has that engagement with DOC, I mean, I know it's helpful to DOC, and I know you guys are moving some of the people over to Medicare. Are you guys able to collect, and how's that coming along? I know it's a day-to-day kind of thing. I don't think it was solved overnight.
No, for the first part of your question about how much they owe us, it's about $5 million for the hospitalizations that were prior to 2019, I believe. Those, there was just never any appropriation made. We're still carrying it on our books. It's about $5 million. In the years from 2020 to current, we have been getting some payment, and recently they have, the prisoners are now covered under Medicaid. And so those claims are actually being processed as well. So I don't have the specifics on how we've been collecting on that, but it would be a typical Medicaid claim just like anybody else.
Now, I know that there's outsourcing discussions, but any idea I hope we're not going to try to outsource security for any use of patients at GMH? Because I know they bring people to guard their patients when they're up there.
Well, DOC brings their own guards to escort their inmates.
And you guys support them very little at
No.
all? Or nothing at all?
No, because
Okay.
they stay with the inmates the whole
Okay.
time.
Thank you. Now, I only have one more question, Mr. Chair. This is regarding staffing. Which of the departments across all of GMHA carry the largest vacancy gaps? And does the staffing plan for this coming fiscal year, is it assuming that gap's going to close? Is it going to hold flat? Is it going to go further away? I'm just trying to understand that when we pass this budget, you guys are going to be either on track to do something okay this year or struggle.
So, Senator, there has been an earnest effort from management that we hold off after natural attrition of non-clinical positions occurs, hold off on the recruitment. And so, if you're asking which groups have the most vacancies, it's the skew is leaning towards your non-clinical, fiscal operations and administration. There is a different direction that we're taking. We want to fill our clinical positions as the greatest priority, and then we are identifying on a case-by-case basis when the need is justified for the non-clinical positions.
All right, thank you for that. And I'm hoping that the next time we see each other, it's under better circumstances. And again, I join in, in the support from the Committee on Health that we continue to try to listen to the needs that you have. I'm hoping that the fee schedule that we worked on earlier this term, hopefully that'll yield some a little bit of relief. And I'm hoping that at some point, with the help of GPA, that some of those issues on the power side will finally get the hospital at least a little bit more, or in a place that would be better for all of you. And again, thank you all for your service to the people of Guam. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Burnett, you're recognized.
Hey, Sudosmasi, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the Guam Memorial Hospital for being here today. Interim CEO, I had kind of tried to ask earlier because the chair in his open had said that a big part of why you were here was because of messages that have been circulating. So I was only trying to find out more about these messages because anytime we have, there's a reason you come down here. I think just in the name of transparency, we should just be all clear and in the open for the people of Guam. So are you able to share any details about these messages and maybe respond to them?
Well, I was told that you guys have received the messages, and that's why we were coming down, was to answer to them.
You said in your testimony that it was disheartening how one individual could undo all the great work that's happening at the Guam Memorial Hospital. So who is the individual, and in what way would they undo?
Senator, because I'm professional, that is not something I'm going to disclose. But I'm sure that your colleagues can share these messages with you because there's been several people that have probably received them.
Thank you, Doc, for that. And just respectfully, I don't think that's the point. Professionalism aside, we're in a public forum, And I think as lawmakers, policymakers, representatives of the people, we have to do everything to be as transparent as we possibly can. So these messages were circulated from Dr. Akimoto, as I'm sure many of the people in the body are aware. So again, since this was the reason that we were told you were coming down here, is there anything contained in these messages that you would like to specifically address here on the floor?
I thought that's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
I thought that is exactly what we've been addressing.
So
that
there's
is why
nothing,
Mr. Beneventi is here, is to clarify the working relationship between the Guam Memorial Hospital and GPA. We have a very good relationship. We communicate very closely. So there's a lot of assumptions about how the Guam Memorial Hospital functions that are untrue. And that's why we're here.
So which of those allegations are untrue? Are you able to share?
I don't have all those messages.
Which ones
so
do you?
I'm telling you that GPA and GMH work closely together.
Okay. There's no need to have an attitude. I'm just asking. I think, you know, we can ask questions in here, and I don't understand why so many take it personally.
I'm not taking it personally. I think that it's just difficult for us to come down here to answer allegations that one person has.
Yeah, and
that's it.
Respectfully, I don't even think this is the forum for that. Right? I mean, if we're going to discuss the budget, let's discuss the budget. But when the senators are told you're coming down here because some doctor is sending text messages all over the island, then I think if that's the reason, again, then we should be able to discuss the messages, just in the sake of transparency, Doc.
No, well, to clarify, that isn't the only reason why. There were these accusations that were being made, but I was told that we would discuss budget.
Thank you. But again, that was a big part of the chair explained and the oversight chair explained. But I wanted to, because you had mentioned—
Point of personal privilege and our correction. It wasn't a big portion. I wanted clarity and information regarding the text message and this GPA GMH exchange. But more importantly, I wanted to know if the $21 million or the $20 million that is appropriated in the current fiscal year budget but was not given to GMH because of language, and we corrected it, and it's going to be hopefully passed and signed into law, whether or not they would be able to spend all of that $20 million, and whether or not or how the $21 million that they were requesting for FY27, if they don't receive it, how is it going to impact GMH? That is my primary concern.
Senator Barnett, you recognize?
Yeah, again, I don't know why people in here take it so personally. We can ask questions and get—
You're the one making
Excuse
it
me,
personal.
Senator,
Mr.
thank
Chair?
you. Yeah.
Thank you. The speaker had 10 minutes of time. So I wanted to follow up on the privatization and the outsourcing efforts. So it's my understanding that each of the different areas that are going to be outsourced and privatized, we're supposed to come up with productivity reports. Has that been completed? And where are we in the privatization process for the Security Environmental Services, RCM, cafeteria, dietary?
We'll give you the full breakdown, Senator, because each of those are in a different phase of the procurement.
So for the dietary services RFP, the RFP went out, are due on August 28th. For the security services RFP, the RFP went out on Saturday. The proposals are also due on August 28th. For the environmental services RFP, that already, excuse me, we've already received the proposals. It has gone through the evaluation, and it's currently going, we're in the process of, we're going into negotiations for the environmental services. For the SNF lease RFP, that is an ongoing RFP at the moment, and the proposals were initially due at an earlier date but had to be extended. So the new deadline is in the next couple weeks.
Are you also privatizing the pastoral services? No? So have any jobs been lost as a result of any of the completed privatization efforts?
No, Senator. Yeah. As of this time, because we are yet to award and they were just described to you as ongoing. Right.
So I just continue to receive concerns from the employees about, anxious about that whole first right of refusal thing, especially with the dietary services. So I appreciate the update. I also received a concern from a GMH staffer who writes, Senator, I just want to inform you that GMH had removed the tool for anonymous reporting to the safety learning system, which allows employees to report any misconduct, safety issues, or other concerns. There had been an increase of professional misconduct reports against leadership, and they decided to turn it off. This is what we are dealing with. We hope that you're able to address this. Sidos Masi. Are those claims accurate, or?
We're unaware of any complaints against management, and to that extent, we have held public town halls and afforded our employees an opportunity to present, whether anonymous or before the audience of the town hall, any of their issues.
Thank you, Mr. Kanga. So has the ability for GMH employees to anonymously report to the safety learning system been turned off? Is that option still available to the employees?
I can answer that question. Yes, the anonymous reporting option has been removed. All staff, regardless of clinical or non-clinical, management or not, have access to the SLS system. And that's the electronic incident reporting system. On top of that, there is the risk management hotline and soon to be the patient safety hotline that's going to be added onto options for staff to report.
Are you able, Mr. Bangalodia?
Yes.
Are you able to explain why the anonymous reporting was turned off and is no longer available?
I would say about 95% of the time when we get anonymous reporting, the reporting is incomplete. And when you have incomplete reporting, it's very hard to do an investigation with that. So if we do have the name attached to it, then we're able to get back to them and get more information so we can complete a full investigation and take action on. Literally, some of these anonymous reports can be one sentence, and it's hard to go on because there isn't enough information.
Correct, Senator. And if I may also add that oftentimes when they're seeking a solution, it's prudent that we identify who to reach out and say that this has been acted upon. The complainant or whoever files the SLS is wanting to know what action, if any, is taken with regards to the report. And when they don't leave an appropriate name or contact to share that update, it's hard to get confirmation that they've relayed that information to them.
See, this Wasi for the response, but I think the point is, according to some employees, there exists an environment where they don't feel comfortable bringing issues forward while also identifying themselves. So I just wanted to get that on the record. I absolutely support GMH. Absolutely. This $20 million that you didn't get, but now you're going to get, does this make you impasse, or are you guys still shortfall or status quo, or are we going to require additional funding? Because it kind of sounds like we're hinging.
The 20 or the 21?
Yeah.
The 20 for 26 or the 21 for
all
27?
All of it, CEO.
Okay, the 21, if you give that to us, that'll at least help keep us afloat, and then we will work on hopefully getting these grants, the CDBG, the TAP and MAP, so that can go towards CIP. What you're going to give us is going to allow us to continue to operate status quo while we continue to work on our processes and bring our costs down. Yes.
And the 20 million, Senator, is for current year obligations. The 21 million request is to ensure that we have appropriate resources for the upcoming fiscal year.
Right. So I think I asked you guys this question the last time we were in here. What's the real number? You know, not status quo. What's the real number that GMH needs to meet all of its obligations and not have to come down to the legislature or not have to get creative and fancy in applying for all of the different grants?
Senator, the budget is a spending plan, that the agency produces to express to the public what they intend to require in order to deliver services. The spending plan for fiscal year 2026 is complete. The $20 million that was included as an amendment is due for a correction so that those funds can be made available right away. The spending plan that was presented to the body has an additional need of $21 million for fiscal year 2027. So to separate the two fiscal years, we're good for the current year, subject to the amendment being included on getting the $20 million right away. But fiscal year 2027, we will be operating $21 million less than our total budget amount.
And what is the impact of that?
Well, that depends. Is it going to be our linens? Is it going to be our supplies? I don't know where that 21 million is going to impact, but it's definitely going to impact the departments in general. You know, this year, this 27 year is the year that we asked you not to give us a blank check, but to invest in us, help us to get through the projects that we had proposed so that it would be down to 17.8 million should everything launch. We are in process, but it's going to take time. So we're asking you to keep us afloat.
So you're saying you're satisfied with the level of investment that the legislature is providing to you?
With your 21 million for 27.
Cito Masi, Mr. Chair.
Senator Chulai, you recognize?
Can you just clarify this 21 million that you're talking about? What are you talking about?
I can break down the numbers.
No, what is that? Is that your budget request for FY27, the one that's in this bill? Or that's in addition to what's in this bill?
That is in addition to what is presented in the budget bill for fiscal year 2027, as approved by this body and transmitted to the governor.
You mean that budget bill?
Correct. And when the governor...
We're in a new budget bill.
Correct. And the measure that the governor sent down is the same numbers that were reflected in the approved budget bill.
Right. And you're saying that, so even the governor's request is not enough. It's $21 million short?
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
$21 million in addition.
All right. Have you discussed this with her? Because she sent this budget down to us.
Yes.
All right. So the current bill that we're looking at is giving $36 million from the general fund, $21 million from the pharmaceutical fund for FY27, right? And then just corrects that language from FY26, which we knew was not going to get you any money during FY26. It was very, very clear, and finally we're fixing that. I had a bill in to do that months and months ago, but that never moved in this body. So I'm glad we're doing it today, or hopefully sometime. Can you just clarify about the litigation? Some of the things I wrote down from what you said is that there was litigation potential, that that's why you closed the meeting off, and that there were things that they don't want to have out there in the public, and that's why we closed the meeting off. But, so I was just checking the statute, and it's very clear. Only matters directly relating to ongoing litigation or litigation which has been threatened, as is reasonably expected, may be discussed. Is that litigation that actually has been threatened or that is actually ongoing?
I think if we look at a Supreme Court decision, it also includes reasonably anticipated litigation. And if you actually do the research in other jurisdictions with similar open government laws, it also includes reasonably anticipated litigation. And finally, my duty as counsel is to ensure that there's confidentiality when there's necessarily to have privileged discussions.
All right, but you said this is for litigation potential, and it seems to me like almost everything in a hospital has litigation potential, and yet this is being kept from the public. And it's very, very clear in our statute that there was supposed to be a very, very limited exception. And yeah, is there, after you've discussed it now, is there some reason we can't be told about it if there's no litigation?
We're definitely going to be able to discuss it more in a subsequent meeting. At this point in time, I'm still going to uphold my duty to maintain the confidentiality in that discussion.
Is your duty also to maintain that GMH follows the open government law?
Absolutely.
All right, well, I'm just reading the statute.
And I'm telling you, if you do the research, you'll find out it includes reasonably anticipated litigation.
Right, so is there reasonably, because that's not what you said. You said litigation potential as opposed to what the statutes say, reasonably expected.
I think if you look at the agenda, it does say reasonably anticipated litigation.
So you believe that litigation is reasonably anticipated?
Yes.
All right, and did you file an affidavit to say that?
We would, yes.
All right, and as to the consultant that was hired by GIDA, they made recommendations. Did GMH follow any of those recommendations or implement any of those? And today, before GMH said they objected to that consultant's report, they wanted another one done, and today they're saying those were recommendations that actually came from them. Some of their recommendations were implement a formal strategic planning cycle with cascading department KPIs, conduct vendor reviews and renegotiate supply contracts for better pricing, reevaluate special pay and premium pay, initiate a rebidding process for physician services. By renegotiating existing contracts and exploring competitive bids, the hospital will reduce overall operational costs while maintaining high-quality patient care. Implement energy-saving initiatives, seek rebate opportunities for green certifications. And there are others. For example, this one about the physician services. Did GMH do this? Renegotiate contracts with physician services to get more competitive bids?
I think we're doing some of it in a different fashion. If we actually get the amendment for the joinder, that'll open up a very large opportunity for us to get vendors that have already gone through the merit process. So that would save us a lot of money. I did meet with Naval Hospital to see whether or not we could join in an MOU or in an MOA to see how they would be able to do some group purchasing with us. Unfortunately, they came back that their leadership would not support that at this time because they're a federal government.
Are you talking about the physician renegotiating the contracts?
I'm talking about the vendors and the supplies and
okay, what about the physician contracts? Renegotiating those existing contracts was one of the recommendations.
So Dr. Eusebio has been working on the physician contracts. We have the MGMA benchmarks that we've been using. And he's also been doing a lot of changes that has resulted in a little over $500,000 in savings now.
From physician contracts?
Yes, ma'am.
So they're being renegotiated as recommended for more competitive bids?
I'll let him speak.
He's saying, he's nodding his head, yes? Yeah. All right, so how much savings? How much savings did you say?
I think we're at about $500,000.
All right, and then on the vendors, it says to renegotiate supply contracts with the vendors.
So we're trying to go even bigger than that. And we're hoping that the joinder amendment actually goes through because that will allow us an even bigger pool. And part of the effort was trying to see whether or not we could leverage the Naval Hospital because it's a federal government to see whether or not we can do group purchasing. And unfortunately, he came back saying that they couldn't, but that's not going to be our last effort.
All right. Another recommendation they made was that the only way to close the financial deficit is through additional revenue capture or expense reductions. The focus for revenue capture can be achieved through contract renegotiations and enforcements. And I think they mean with the insurance companies, right?
Well,
right? So Yuka's nodding yes. Has this been done?
It hasn't been completed. We have the draft contracts. They're just waiting for legal counsel for review, but we did meet with all of the payers to get those contracts renegotiated.
So what are the new terms? What benefits are they bringing?
A lot of it has to do with clarifying like things that get denied, and for us to be able to bill for those things and reduce the amount of denials that come back based on the contract.
Okay, good. And can you just please explain to the public about this SNU leasing? You said you're either going to lease the facility, you might be also that they take over the operations, might not. That means you're going to bring all those operations over to GMH, or the main facility? Or could you please explain to the public everything that they would ask about this? Because I only have 20 seconds left according to the chairman's rules, but I really think the public needs to know everything that you can tell them about this SNU closure or outsourcing.
So with the issuance of the SNF RFP, it really is our way of exploring, one, the possibility of leasing out the facility, and in doing so, it would also entail that whoever the winning offer is, that they would also take over the operations of the SNF. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the people who are working there are going to be displaced, because part of what was built into the RFP was a right of first refusal. So the way we understood it is that the offerer, in this case, whoever then wins the lease, would then evaluate the staff that are there, and they would have to do interviews and basically make an offer to them. And if in the event the staff that are there do not want to work with the organization, then they can refuse, and we would basically take on those employees. So in essence, they're not going to lose their job.
The patients?
So with the patients, part of the requirement in the RFP is that they must follow CMS guidelines in order to, they have to follow the CMS guidelines to ensure the safety and the care for the patients.
But are they accepting your patients, or is that an option for them, or is that a mandate? Are they going to be continuing the service or not? Because earlier you said maybe.
They would have to continue the service. So the patients that are there are going to be their patients.
Thank you, Senator. Sounds like a great opportunity for an oversight. Senator Perez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon to the panel here today. Yeah, I just want to follow up that question regarding the SNU. Do you foresee possibly with the privatization of it that the fees could increase and it could be out of reach for patients to use that service?
Sorry, Senator. Danielle? I didn't want to scream.
I'm sorry, I was in a sidebar conversation. Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, just a follow-up question regarding privatization of the skilled nursing unit. So one of the issues with privatization is that the fees could increase and will make access to health care out of reach for our people here. So do you foresee possible increases in fees?
I believe that question will be better answered by our CFO.
The services at the skilled nursing facility are for skilled nursing. It's not like services we offer in the hospital. Most of the patients that receive the skilled nursing services are mainly covered by Medicare, Medicaid, and private insurance. So I would guess that if there was a new owner, that they could possibly raise their fees as they would, unless we write it into the contract or something that they can't. But I would imagine that they could raise the fees, and the reimbursement rates for the skilled nursing for Medicare and Medicaid it's really low. It's around 300.
For Medicaid, it's 300.
About $360 a day for the reimbursement rate. So even if we charge $1,500, we're only going to get about 300, and the average is about 360 a day.
All right. And so just some of the things I guess I was unaware with the all the negative, I guess, emails that were going around. So my understanding with this session, we're in special session, we're talking about funding. And so what came up during the panel earlier before you was that the appropriation in the previous budget bill was not honored, basically, because the wording was not, didn't basically, I guess, wasn't appropriate. But when you look at the wording, I mean, if you take a look at what the previous bill said, you know, it's 20 million. One says net unobligated fiscal year 2026 general fund balance. The other one states, this current bill says unobligated fiscal year 2026 general fund collected in excess of FY 2026 levels. So it's, you know, it's very, very nuanced here. But the upshot is that when I asked whether the appropriation for in the 2027 budget bill is a supplement or supplant, the response was they were not going to honor what was appropriate in the 2026 budget bill. And it's basically, yeah, they're not going to duplicate it. And the implications for that is the current budget that we're dealing with in this special session does not take into account previous year's budget law. So if we do pass this budget bill, it's not going to honor that past appropriation.
So, I need to interject on that, Senator. The governor did not change the language that we did in our version of the bill. So the language is going to be the same, which means that, and for the body, once again, you're right on nuance. This was an interpretation by Department of Administration as well as BBMR. In fact, they issued the first 1 million, and they can tell you that, and then they clawed it back and said that it was because their interpretation of the language was it would require an audited financials. Most of us didn't agree with that, but however, the language is accepted and corrected, but nothing changed. GMH, on the passage of this budget, will be entitled to the full 20 million remittance.
So my understanding with what was testified was that they weren't going to double up on it, which would have an impact.
Yes,
basically.
so,
yeah.
Senator, it doesn't become 40 million. Just because Substitute Bill 26638 was vetoed and the governor sent down 110S.
No, sorry. Correction, it's Substitute Bill 44-38. So I'm talking about 2026 budget.
That's right,
yeah.
and that's
so that passed,
yes,
right?
Yes.
That's passed, and so in that bill there is an appropriation for 20 million using the surplus. I'll just call it surplus right now, or excess funds. But it wasn't honored according to, or it's not being honored according to what was testified either yesterday or the day before by the BBMR. And so I guess the issue here is that if they're not honoring that, then what is at stake for GMH if they're not going to honor that appropriation? So yeah, really, we're caught up in semantics, we're caught up in these nuances, and so maybe if I get clarification from Ms. Echanova, what did you receive from last year or this current year's budget?
We have received, or we are receiving in monthly allotments, everything that had been appropriated except the 20 million. However, in the first month, we did get 1.7 million for that 20 million, but it was clawed back the following month after DOA told us that the wording in the current budget was not allowing them to release that money.
Okay, so just this, yesterday or the day before, we were told that they weren't going to basically provide that appropriation. They're not going to, give it in full. And what's going to happen is maybe I could talk offline regarding this, but
Because
my
my-
understanding is that they're not going to duplicate it, basically.
No, they will
Yeah.
not duplicate it
They
because
won't
this
give
is
the-
just for FY26.
Yeah, they won't give the 26, but they will give the 27. See what I'm saying? They're moving forward with the 27 and not honoring.
Senator, maybe I'm going to clear this up, okay? And I think you misunderstood what they were saying because we had this conversation even on the sub-bill. When the sub-bill or this bill, if it gets signed into law, that 20 million will be available because the law will become law, meaning they will have the money for this fiscal year and they will, let me hear me out.
Yeah, I understand that.
And yes, so Senator, what I'm trying to say is, you're right. There will be no additional 20 million in fiscal year 27 because that's not appropriated. That's not part of the language.
That's not my point. My point is the 26 is not being honored because of that language. Oh, they only gave them 7 million, and then they realized the language.
But it will be honored in full upon the passage of this bill.
But my understanding, I believe this appropriations for 27 and not for the current fiscal year.
No, this is to clear up the language about the fiscal year 26 appropriation. So once this bill becomes law, they will need to remit 20 million within 26 to GMH.
Okay, but my understanding too was that you needed this additional 20 for the upcoming fiscal year.
Correct, and that needs to be contemplated
Which means
in
we're still
another
short
appropriation.
we're short the 19 million for the 26 fiscal year. That's the point I'm trying to make. Okay, I guess we're stuck in this semantics, but to me, my understanding is you've been shorted, period. And what was, if you are shorted, what's at stake? What did you have in mind with that 20 million from 2026?
That's why we have been waiting the whole year to receive it, and now that the language has been corrected in the current budget bill to apply to FY26, and Senator Matanani asked earlier, that was her first question actually, was whether we could spend that money and use it for FY26 given how late we are in the year, and I replied yes, because our monthly expenditures are around 16 to 17 million anyway, so we do need the money immediately. We've been waiting all year for it.
Okay, so this 20 million and 27 is to cover that past, not moving forward. Is that what you're saying?
No, the 20 million is for the current year.
Yes.
We have a shortfall for FY27, which is another 21
Which is what you
million.
needed the 20 million. Yeah,
21
so you're going to be
million.
short.
For 27, yes. Yes.
Okay, because we didn't give you what you needed in 26.
No. We did get what we needed for 26 if we get the 20 million corrected, but for FY27, we're showing a shortfall of about $21 million.
Okay, well, the other question I have really quickly is your CDBG-DR. So you've applied for 4 grants, and can you tell me what that's for?
So we have we're talking about the CDBG? Yes. Okay.
CDBG-DR, yes.
So we have 4. One is various HVAC projects at 4.89 million. The GMHA Digital Infrastructure Modernization and Resilience Project at 5.65 million. The Maternal Child Health Renovation and Expansion Project at 28 million. And the Z-Wing Renovation Project at 2 million, totaling 40.55 million.
So what's the first one, paycheck?
HVAC?
I heard, okay, HVAC. Okay, gotcha.
Senator, it might be in your booklet, towards the back. It says CDBG-DR.
Okay, my time's up. but thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Tadigui, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm just going to cut the formalities and just get to some of the questions that I had. And this one goes to Mr. Benavente regarding the power generation at Guam Memorial Hospital right now. What would happen right now if there was another typhoon? How bad would this situation be in providing power?
Just before Typhoon Bobby, I think we went down and checked, and they had their generators. They had an issue, but it was repaired. But more after that, they did a lot of repairs on the generator. So,
okay, right now earlier you were talking about leaking, making sure that water doesn't go into like a panel area. One, you're monitoring the power panel, I guess, regularly. So what would happen now? I mean, it's obviously very delicate right now. Anything could happen and things can get shut down. So what situation are we in right now? If there was another typhoon that comes to Guam and hit us, would there be major damage to the electricity over the Guam Memorial Hospital?
I don't see that operating similarly to the last typhoon.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about the building, or you're talking about?
We're talking about the whole power that's going, because they were talking about the issue of the power panel, the electricity, things being closing down. Is there enough power to Guam Memorial Hospital? Or,
no, we've been doing the preventive maintenance ahead of time, and we do it every quarter. Mm-hmm. And that's indicating that things are okay.
Okay.
So what you try to do is catch anything early, no? But it's okay. The generators, they've done some improvements recently. Radiators changed, starters changed, different things like that to keep those machines going. And we checked on them before last typhoon, and again.
So you're always there to assist GMH when it comes to power supply?
Yes, we've been every quarter.
How about
their supervisor and our supervisor goes through the critical equipment and see what is necessary. They also have an opportunity to let us know if there's something that they're concerned about, so that the team have a standing direction to do what they have to do.
Do you have engineers at GPA that's willing to assist the hospital if they need it at any time?
Yes, they are doing that now. Yeah.
Okay, they're doing it now.
Yeah, even our operation group that goes down there.
Okay, can you give us a good bill of health then with regards to the power supply at GMH, that the sky is not falling?
Yes, the sky is not falling.
Okay, yeah. And we get a good bill of health, right, on the power?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah,
do you also work with...
Nothing says that something would not fail, no, for a 50-year-old plan.
Sure.
But from what we can see today, it's healthy. And secondly, we do have to replace it, though.
Mm-hmm. You do have to replace it. Can you explain? You mean the panel and...
The automatic transfer switch,
right.
The generator, and the most important also the motor control centers that it's like a safety device that kills the power to the motor that's burned out or something.
Switch, right. Yeah? And you're going to be assisting GMH with that, correct?
Yes, we have an MOU, and again, like I said, we religiously, I just checked this morning, do our quarterly inspections.
Okay, and you do have the funding, no problem with getting funding with any kind of equipment that's needed?
No. And then we do charge GMH, and they pay us.
Yes, so that's my question. How much do you charge GMH?
This is what it costs. There's our regular labor and all of that.
Yeah. What is that? That could be anything.
No, it's not that much.
Are you giving them a good deal?
Yeah. Can't find the best expertise anywhere, then that's one part already.
Okay, well, as long as you don't charge like experts in the field, because this is a government agency, and when time comes and we need to help each other out, this is the time where we rely on our other partners or other agencies to assist us.
Our motto is fix first and worry about the charges later. No?
That's nice. I'm sure they appreciate that. Okay. So we talked about the typhoon. So Dr. Uggan, I know you work very hard, you know, but part of this job, as you're learning, is being called down here, maybe at a whim. But transparency, accountability, I've always talked to you about that. And if it means coming down here and keeping that regiment of transparency and accountability for the people of Guam, because there's a lot of people who watch this legislature. And they sometimes want to hear directly from, you know, the individual, the agency, to give them comfort. And especially when it comes to Guam Memorial Hospital, when anything happens to our family members, if they're sick or an emergency happens, you know, they want to make sure that they're not afraid to walk into Guam Memorial Hospital and get worse, you know. I mean, that's always been the persona. And I'm seeing the change. I took the tour, and I appreciate the hard work that you're doing, especially to your staff down there. I mean, everyone here, of course, but you have such a great team down there willing to work beyond their call of duty many times over. So I appreciate that. However, you know, when I've always been a stickler about keeping those staff safe. You know, even when Lillian Posadas was there, you've heard me, you know, just getting so upset because we're putting our staff, our people who work for the people of Guam, in danger. You know, and I want to make sure that they're taken care of. So it's important to pass inspections. I mean, we just heard recently that Tidjan High School just failed. They failed inspection. So that means Simon Sanchez failed too as well. But public health is out there, you know, doing these inspections, and I appreciate it that they're not turning a blind eye. So when it comes to inspections, and mentioned on the end, the young lady at the end who was talking about your inspections, you talked about, you know, CMC, you know, not having any issues. Well, can you tell us if you've passed any OSHA inspections? Did you pass any DPW inspections? Did you pass any fire inspections?
DPW, to my knowledge, has not come out and inspected the hospital. The hospital's, what's called the, excuse me for a second, authorized jurisdiction for local, it's Guam Fire Department, and for federal, it's the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services, CMS. As far as GFD, the last time I believe they were out for a life safety issue was back in December of 2025, and they did not close us down or tell us that the hospital was unsafe. They actually released the hospital back to GMH.
Do they have an inspection though? They inspect Guam Memorial?
They do not come out and inspect us. It would be in relation to an event.
What about OSHA?
We have not had OSHA out.
So you haven't had any of these inspections?
Not by DPW or OSHA, no.
Or fire?
Or fire.
The last question I have is in the section of the last page of these documents is the revenue cycle management, the outsourcing, and dietary services. Can you tell me how long these contracts are, the individual contracts on the last page? Maybe Ms. Hachinova, you're always.
So for the RFP,
okay. Hi there.
Hi, Senator. Hi. So for the RFP for the, I believe for all of them, if I'm not mistaken, they are for an initial period of 3 years with subject to annual renewal terms.
All of these?
Each, yes.
Each one is, the length of these contracts will be 3 years with an extension.
If I'm not mistaken, yes. So that would be, just to clarify, that would be for the environmental services, the dietary services, the security services. I have to go back on the RCM because I can't recall off the top of my head if it's a 1 year with options to renew, or if it's a 3-year with options to renew.
But nothing beyond 3 years?
No, ma'am, not as an initial term.
Okay, and how many times are you allowed to renew, usually in your contracts?
It states subject to annual renewal terms.
So it could be 1, 2, 3, you can keep going and going.
Yes,
Thank you,
and
Senator.
of course subject to availability of funds and, performance requirements, et cetera.
Okay, well, thank you, and thank you everybody for coming in full force here to show your presence to the people of Guam, and how you're here willing to answer these questions I'm sure it speaks volumes of the trust that you will win from the people of Guam. So thank you.
Speaker Bloss, did you have any questions? Senators, we've finished this round for GMH, so this round is closed. We will start the third round tomorrow morning at 08:30 for floor amendments. We are adjourned. Thank you, GMH, to your entire team. We are in recess.